Welcome to the adventures of Chuck Dewood, the jacked lumberjack. After awakening in a train yard, Chuck made his way to the Central Park Visitors Centre, where he sets up base, killing hundreds in the process. On day 5 he performed atrocities in a school car park, then spent the next day dismantling benches to upgrade his carpentry skill, which means he was finally able to set up a bed on day 7 and get a comfortable sleep for the first time in a week. Day 8 starts with me continuing Electric Volume 1 while I cook myself some bacon, followed by an hour of burpees, then finishing off the book in our newly christened Cut Corner. It's at this point I realise the water has shut off and I'd like to make some rain collectors above my sink and plumb them in for the convenience. Sadly I need another level of carpentry to build stairs to get up there, so it's back to the carpentry grind, starting with trying to take out this notice board, but I just end up with a really annoying floating roof that I can't take down. Fuck's sake. So I turn my attention to chopping down trees and sawing them into planks. But after chopping down an area that would make Just Stop Oil cry, I realised the gains are so marginal I might as well just take steroids. So I sort the boards into a pile and settle in for the night reading Gun Volume 1 as exhaustion and tiredness take over. For day 9 I head on foot into the housing estate I was looting previously, and a couple of zombies have wandered in, but there's nothing we can't handle. Then I restart my carpentry grind, starting in one house and just dismantling every single wooden item I can. Doors, wardrobes, I even tried the floor, but when I realised the floor gave me no XP, I moved into the neighbours. And pretty quickly we hit carpentry level 6. Before I head back I want to check out the garage out back, but it's full of the undead. Well, not anymore, and unbelievably I find a second generator. This is going to become a common theme in this run. I also noticed a convenience store next door, sadly though all the fresh produce was stale or rotten, but there was still plenty of canned goods to collect, and with the electricity still running, I was able to top up my dairy supplies. I then head back home, build ourselves some stairs, and even a little platform for our rain collectors to sit on. Sadly I only had enough garbage bags for one container, but I'm sure it'll be fine for now. Although even with a pipe wrench equipped, I couldn't plumb it in. Maybe I just gotta wait for it to fill up. So seeing as it's already getting late, I spend the rest of the afternoon ripping up the clothes of the undead. No, it's not a weird kink. I don't want a couple of dozen naked corpses on my lawn. I just want plenty of rip sheets for... well, actually I'm not sure, okay? But I'm sure they'll come in handy at some point. Although manhandling naked corpses really makes you tired. So I have an early night, although that means I wake up at 1:30 in the morning. Thankfully, I've collected plenty of oxy on my travels. However, abusing someone else's prescription drugs means I don't wake up until 10:20. You lazy prick. You can't be having a lie-in during the zombie apocalypse. There's shit to do, you knobhead. My initial plan for day 10 was to head out to do some more exploring. However, my hungover driving had other ideas. With no way to flip it, I head off on foot to find a vehicle I could use to knock it over. Unfortunately, the first car I find has no key or fuel, but I do find bourbon in the house it belongs to. I continue my journey north as I know of a car park nearby I should be able to find a vehicle in. Before I get there, however, I find 2 pickups, but both of which are in terrible conditions. I move on to the car park I initially planned for, but the undead surround me at every turn. There was only one way out. But every time I made a kill, more were attracted to my location. I had the bourbon in my pocket and just didn't have enough time to craft it into a molly. I had to keep fighting. I was successful, although highly exerted, panicked beyond belief, wet, hot, riddled with anxiety. Nothing a cheeky cigarette can't sort out though. After resting, I searched the car park, and even though there are plenty of vehicles for me to choose from, without being able to hotwire, there's only one choice. This black sedan, which had a key in the glove box. But I do make sure to tow back this van for an up-and-coming looting run I had in mind. But first, I was going to need to learn to hotwire. I get back to the earlier disaster, and for once put my rear end to good use. So now our company fleet has grown to 3. I just need to level up my mechanics and electric skills to hotwire this van. So I read Mechanics Volume 1 until the early hours, and even managed to get 3 hours of sleep, because I've learned to set the alarm. No more lie-ins for this lazy bastard. After completing my morning routine, we get to work on yet another skill grind. Sadly, I couldn't do this to my fullest potential, however, as I was missing a jack and a basic recipe magazine. To make things worse, as my skills were so low, I risked damaging any vehicle I work on, so for now, I would only work on this shitty hatchback. And I couldn't do this over and over again as the gains would be so marginal. So I quickly moved my attention to the electrical skill, dismantling all the electronics I'd collected so far. Then to also work on my sprinting and fitness skills, I jogged back to the housing estate where I continued to dismantle literally anything and everything electrical. TVs, portable disc players, literally nothing stood a chance against Chuck and his screwdriver. During my destructive rampage, I also found an M14 with a couple of rounds of ammo and a shotgun in a crashed cop car. I look forward to testing them out soon. But now I'm super heavy thanks thanks to my new weaponry, knackered and exerted. So head back home, although we made some decent progress to our electrical skill. I store all of my new weapons with gun safety being of the utmost importance, fully loaded and everything. Into day 12 I continue my grind, although this mechanic shit is going to take forever. I think I'm going to need to invest in some more vehicles. For today I take the sedan with me as I continue to search for electrical items to dismantle. I even find our third generator. Honestly, this spawn is so blessed. But by the time the afternoon rolls in, I make a potentially life-altering mistake. I was up early, so I was tired. I was in pain from the exercise fatigue, and I was starving because I realised I was now a fat fucker and needed to lose some kgs. I open a bathroom door and 3 zombies come flooding out. I had nowhere to run. I had to fight through the pain and drowsiness. It takes forever, but once I manage to get them to the floor, it's pretty simple to cave in their skulls. But that was way too close. My arrogance had almost cost me my life. I wouldn't let it happen again. I finally get to electrical level 1 by dismantling this clock on the wall. Now I just needed 2 levels of mechanics so I could hotwire the van for a looting run. I had found an area on the edge of Louisville, not too far away from the school we were at previously. It had everything I could possibly need to build up our home. A small fire station for axes, a hardware store for building supplies, a liquor store for alcohol, and even a gun store for all the weapons we could possibly need. But there was no point taking a car. I wanted to walk away with as much stuff as humanly possible. So on day 13, after training my mechanic skill on the same hatchback I had for the days previous, although at least this time I'd picked up a jack on my travels, I head out in the sedan to train mechanics on every car I know of, starting with the white estate I found a few days ago. But first, I can then take apart the car and put it back together in peace. Next up is the abandoned pickup trucks. But that was easier said than done, as I kept getting interrupted by the undead. Which is especially dangerous as I now have a wheel in my inventory. Go on, Chuck, you can do it. But after nearly getting a chunk taken out of me, I decide to move on. But at least I got myself a fancy new hat. I get to the car park I cleared a few days ago and get to work, quickly leveling up to Mechanics 1. And by evening I had made great strides towards level 2, but now it was time to get home. Tomorrow, however, would be the day Chuck Dewood learns to hotwire vehicles. 2 weeks into the apocalypse, I decide to skip my exercise routine, just eager to be able to learn to hotwire at will. By the time I had stripped my hatchback and put it back together, I was well over 2/3 of the way to level 2. So back to the car park, but it had started raining, setting up a cinematic battle against a horde. The only thing that could kill Chuck now was my own overconfidence. We hit mechanics level 2 before the end of lunchtime, and to celebrate I cook myself some bacon in the diner next to the car park. I also collect a water dispenser from one of the offices, as I still can't get my rain collectors to plumb into my sink. And finally I tow myself back a second van, but this is mainly to work on back at base. And once it's topped up with fuel, I'm able to hotwire it, and we can park it up in a nice neat line, with the white van taking centre stage, ready for our loot run. And before heading to bed I start reading an athletics book to boost my sprinting skill. Cuck Corner was teeming with information. Unfortunately, on day 15, the weather was rainy and misty, not ideal for a risky looting run. So I spend a few hours organising supplies before heading out on a fuel run, but it seemed the undead had followed me. I can then refuel the van as well as the 8 empty gas cans I've collected on my journey so far. I even tried to pinch a Land Rover from somebody's drive on the way home, but I'm guessing they've left the handbrake on, and I've got no idea on how to turn it off. So I just head home, arrange my fuel cans in a neat fashion, and spend the rest of the afternoon preparing for the loot run the following day. Sledgehammer and Molotovs, baby. And before bed, I start reading Mechanics Volume 2. We're out on the road the next day before 7 o'clock. It wasn't exactly a long route ahead, but it was one I was yet to take. And not knowing how packed the streets would be on my way, it's for the best if I want to make it home before nightfall. I head back towards the school and decide to loot a cop car I had spotted previously. I get a pistol with ammo in the glove box, but there was nothing of any value in the boot. So it's back on the road, smoking away the anxiety of what's to come. I had no idea what kind of hordes I'd have to face today in order to get that sweet loot. But as I was getting closer to my destination, the streets seemed to be getting busier. I get to the northern section of our loot spot and decide to hit the fire station first, but surprisingly the numbers of the undead wasn't insane. Okay, well it was quite a few, but nothing that Chuck couldn't handle. The door was locked, so I had to break through a window, and other than a zombie breaking through another window, the building was quiet. And to be honest, the loot was disappointing. Other than the heroin, I suppose. Who'd have guessed we have junky firefighters? I only find 2 fire axes in the entire building, so I pinch a tool cabinet to make up for it. For now, I'll store everything in the trailer, and once that's full, I'll use the back of the van. Now onto the hardware store. But first, While I'm here, I check out the accountancy firm next door, finding a flask of booze and some prescription drugs. But I was mainly interested in the water dispenser, as I still can't work out the bloody plumbing. The hardware store was empty, and the first thing I help myself to is the cash in the register. You can take the boy out the valleys, but you can't take the valleys out of the boy. I then start going from shelf to shelf, filling my backpack with anything of value. More hatchets and tools, and even a chainsaw. I collect all the nails and screws, literally anything and everything I think could be useful on our future building projects. I even got myself a second red tool cabinet as well as a set of floodlights. But as I smoke away another anxiety attack, more of the undead have spotted me. Originally, I hadn't realised there was a bar under the insurance broker, but now I make my way inside, helping myself to every drop of alcohol I can get my grubby little hands on. You can take the boy out of the valleys, but you can't take the valleys out of the boy. Unbelievably, the trailer was already full, so I had to stick all of my booze in the back of the van. Last but not least, the gun store. I grab the sledgehammer and break my way inside. But there's just so much to choose from. What should I focus my search for? It's like being a kid in a school supply store. Over the course of the next 2 hours, I stuff every single bit of ammo and magazine into my backpack and then the back of the van. I wasn't even checking what I was grabbing. I just wanted as much as possible so I could sit on my throne of loot. A big, greedy, hoarding bastard. But when it hits midnight, it's time to sleep. I park the van with the door blocked by the trailer and get some shut-eye. I awake at 5:30 the following morning, grateful nothing had tried to eat me in the night. For breakfast, I enjoy a can of chili I'd collected from the fire station, then I finish looting the gun store. Originally, I planned on taking some of the display cases or metal cabinets, but I simply didn't have the room. In fact, I had to fill up the front seat of the van just to fit it all in. But nonetheless, I was successful. I'd completed a massive loot run and had plenty of stuff to keep me busy over the coming days. I don't stop once on the way home, I just simply avoid the undead. I get home just after 10 in the morning, and the first thing I do is dump all the ammo I'd stuffed into my pockets on the floor to relieve my tired body. But my plumbing situation was still bothering me. What the bloody hell was going on? So I head up to investigate, using the rainwater I'd collected to wash off all the dirt and blood from the previous 2 days. And that's when it happened. Chuck was stuck, unable to escape the log pile with no resources on him. How would he escape? Would he starve to death before dehydration hit him? I couldn't imagine going out like that. Such a horrible way to go.